thing. It's shorter than you think. No think.
The Holy Trinity, Bermuda, Alaskan, and Bridgewater triangles. Some say even notable deaths. The significance of three is undeniable. You are to bear witness to yet another event. We're invited to join your hosts, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy, as they guide you down the rabbit holes of the paranormal and unexplained, striving for answers of this world and beyond. Welcome to Blondes, Booze, and the Woo.
Hey everybody, welcome to Blondes and Booze. We are excited to have everybody here tonight with us. And Brandy, let's just not waste any time BSing. Let's just let everybody know what to watch this week and bring our guest up.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, on Monday at 8 p.m. Central, it's Texas Front Porch with me and Tex. Well, basically Tex and me as a sidekick. On Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central is Van Beer and Variety. At 8 p.m. Central, it's Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Beyond BMR. On Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, it's Jason McLean's Questions Everything. On Thursday at 12 p.m. Central, it's Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob and his co-host Krista. Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central, of course, it's us with Blondes and the Booze. I should say booze. I hate saying that because it makes me want to have a drink. Anyway, on Friday, 8 p.m. Central, it's the Blondes, Booze, and the Woo. You can catch us all here. And on Saturday at 2 p.m. Central, Texas, Tex and Danielle Diva drop Infamous Minds at 2 p.m. Central. I'm all tongue-tied. I think it's Latisha. Latisha's got me all tongue-tied. Anyway.
Well, I'm going to bring everybody up, and we're just going to start rolling. Barton Latisha and Anna and Michelle.
Hello, everybody.
Long time no see.
I know.
Right?
I'm blaming you, Latisha. I'm blaming you. I'm tongue-tied.
My fault. I'll take it.
I hear you. So as everybody knows, last weekend we went to Land Between the Lakes, and all of us camped, and a couple of other people were with us who wished to remain anonymous. But it was a good weekend, and it was an eventful weekend. And honestly, we were going to do a show tonight with Anna about
Yeah, she was already scheduled tonight.
However, we just had so much activity between paranormal on the humanoid cryptid side. I mean, it was just a crazy weekend. So we thought we're going to bring Anna back in a future episode because she has a pretty compelling story about her near-death experience also. Anyway, let's just get right on with it. Let's start. We all met up Friday night.
Right.
But before
I wasn't there. I didn't arrive till Saturday. So you all have to tell this story so I can hear it too.
So Friday night or Friday afternoon, I guess really is when we got there. Anna and Michelle, you guys and you were with War Criminal 7.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to kind of tell about what happened to you guys? Because you guys had an experience and it was broad daylight.
Yeah. We went to two areas, and the first one was where we found actually some prints, and it's not the print from Sunday. This was other prints that we found on Friday late afternoon when we met up with War Criminal. And then after we went there, we came back to camp, and then we headed out, and it was probably 11:30 at night.
Oh yeah, when we headed back
out, and we went to a cemetery, and we drove back in the woods for a long time. We were
deep.
Yeah, we were
Real
back
deep.
there. There was nothing. I mean, I'm talking dirt roads. And there was a little cemetery, and we got out, being quiet, listening. It was very quiet in the forest that night. There was a full moon. And when we went into the little cemetery, we were just walking around, observing, listening. And after we were there, I'm going to say maybe, 15 minutes?
10 to 15 minutes of being just quiet and walking around and just kind of waiting. And we heard a lady's voice.
Yeah.
An audible voice that we all three of us heard it at the same time.
It was audible. All three of us heard it.
Could you tell what she said?
No, we could not tell what she said. We could just make out consonants. I didn't hear like a complete sentence. I just heard a mumbling of a couple of words, and it was definitely female.
We all heard it.
How far off the road and that kind of thing, away from civilization, were you?
Miles.
Oh gosh, probably 7 to 8 miles deep and on a gravel road.
Yeah.
From the trace.
Right.
Yeah. We were deep in there.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a question. Now, on Friday, you said you found prints. What type of prints did you find there?
It was a large footprint. I didn't have a tape measure or anything to be able to really gauge it other than from my foot. It was probably, what do you think, about it was 10, maybe 10 and a half inch. I wear an 8.5 shoe.
It was probably closer to 12. I mean, it was large. The toes
you could
were
see the
visible.
toes.
It was in the mud. It was in like a puddle of mud. And that was during the day. That was when we first arrived. And we also saw some sort of disturbing clothing around there.
Yeah.
What kind of clothing? I remember you guys talking about the clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the side of the trail, and it was just discarded clothing.
And there were prints leading off from the clothing that were very large as well. And some of them had a long stride. So it was very odd.
And she did get video of that.
Yeah, I did.
Wow. Real quick, if anybody has any questions, please put them in all caps. And after the break time, we'll go back and answer questions with everybody. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you all.
Oh, you're fine. So when we were still in the cemetery, after we heard the woman's voice, we actually heard a boom. It wasn't the metallic sound that a lot of people talk about. This was more of a muffled boom, but we weren't sure what that was. But we all three heard that too.
You ever heard a sonic boom in the sky?
Yes.
Kind of like that.
So that's been heard out there before because a previous time, do you remember that, Barton Latisha too? Do you remember that?
Sure. Absolutely.
What do you guys think that is? I mean, I do know, like, is there a military base close or?
Yeah, it's within a 30-minute drive, but we were hearing this. We were hearing these explosions. I heard 2 or 3 of them at, I guess it was 12 or 1 o'clock at night. It was well after midnight. I don't know. I don't see the military setting off live munitions in a park full of campers and swimmers and boaters and hikers. That just never did make any sense to me. I mean, sure, they probably conduct training missions there, but as far as setting off live rounds, I don't know.
Well, and if I remember right, the last time it was like late at night. Like
it's very late at night.
This was at midnight when we heard that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it could be weird, but that it could be explained. So
sure,
we'll just mention it, So whenever I had a weird experience, I guess this would be early Saturday morning. As I said earlier, Brandy wasn't there yet. She didn't come in until Saturday morning. So it was just me and my daughter in the cabin. And I have told my daughter that if she had to use the restroom, wake me up, I'd go outside with her. And so I was facing the wall, turned over, and I distinctively heard what I thought was Ava get up and go to the bathroom. And I even said, Ava, I was frustrated that she didn't wake me up. Well, I turn over and there's nothing there. So, and I got up and I looked up there and she was sound asleep. So that was kind of a woo-woo,
right?
Just right
good
there.
Good morning. Yeah, it was a good morning.
Right. So I don't know. That was kind of weird. There's just so much. I think, paranormal activity out there as well as other stuff.
Right. Well, it's,
Yeah.
essentially LBL is basically one big giant graveyard. So,
Right.
It is.
I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of graves that you could visit,
Yeah.
and not to mention the ones that are below the surface of the lake. So, yeah, I'm not surprised about the spirit activity at all there. I mean, I never experienced it myself, but I've talked to a lot of people who have, and there comes a time when you have to say logically that you have to listen to people that are not lying. I'm not doing it for reasons other than to tell the truth. You have to.
Yep.
You have to take their word for it sometimes.
Yeah. Absolutely. And my thing is, there are so many stories that come out of the LBL, and these are credible people, like to hear them tell their encounters, not all these people are lying. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I firmly believe that there's some weirdness that goes on out there.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I just wish I could see some of it myself. At least one time. I've been going down there for 20 years and really never saw anything or heard anything that I could ascribe to any kind of unexplained phenomena. And then we go down there last weekend and all hell breaks loose, and I'm on their camera.
However, Bart, if you remember back in January when we were there, you were seeing the orbs too.
Yeah, I saw little lights. I don't know what they were, Krista. Were they orbs or whatever? I don't know. I just, I expect a little bit more from LBL,
Yeah.
As long as I've been messing with that place.
Well, we did get a whistle too that night.
Right.
We did get a whistle.
We did.
It was something. It was a little something for you, Bart. Just a little something.
Well, I've yet to draw my sword, so that's what I'm looking for. Anything other than that is kind of, anticlimactic at this point.
No, I totally understand. Totally understand. So Saturday, do you guys just kind of want to walk through? One of you guys, like our day was just a normal camping day, really.
Right, it's a normal camping day, and then at midnight we had two groups go out.
Well, about 11:30.
11:30, around midnight, and three people in each vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So of the six that went out, 5 came back and saw something. Only Elijah Henderson didn't see anything. Bless his heart. He was like, he should have stayed at camp with me. That way he wouldn't feel so bad. Not quite as bad, but right. So Latisha and Anna and Michelle went out first, and as soon as they pulled out, they noticed the moon.
Well, it was a little bit. We were driving down the trace, and we're just driving along, talking, and having, just girl time. And all of a sudden, about the same time, all three of us just was like, whoa. And it's like the moon, the biggest, brightest, orangish red moon just popped up out of nowhere, it seemed. And I mean, it was the biggest moon I've ever seen, brightest, and the whole sky around it was just a beautiful color of orangish red.
Yeah.
And I remember us all going, whoa, at the same time. And me and Anna at the same time got cold chills. It was just,
well,
it was crazy.
It was huge.
It was huge.
Right. And we're sitting at camp, and Martin, our good buddy Martin, he remarked the moon, where it was coming up. If you look at the moon, it's really nice. It's almost full. But it was about the size if you took a quarter and held it at arm's length, maybe a little bit smaller. But when they get out of the camp, it's suddenly a huge, and it's white. It's just a white, normal white, yellowish moon. And they all described it, all 6, when they came back, as a huge orange moon with an orange sky. And we're sitting at camp the whole time. The sky never changed, and the moon never changed colors.
It was white at camp. I remember
seeing
it.
So in between Ron's car,
that's what we saw. I mean, we were all sitting there.
That's what was so weird, is because Martin Groves made several comments about the moon being bright. It was never red or orange at camp.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, driving down the trace, it just appeared, and it was the brightest, like I said, brightest orange, red color. The sky around it was the bright reddish orange color. And I mean, it was beautiful, and it was shocking. It was just shocking. And the other 3 that were behind us, I would say they was probably, a half a mile behind us, maybe.
Yeah.
They seen the same thing. So we know We know what we saw. But
Right,
it's all
so-
us 6 that seen it.
And in between, when their car passed this location, evidently dozens of snakes crawled out behind them, which is weird.
We didn't see, I did not see any snakes that night.
Right? But
see,
Elijah and War Criminal 7, all of them did. So,
That's so
and
crazy.
we had hundreds and hundreds of deer. They said everyone said they saw at least 400 deer, which is just crazy.
Deer for sure.
Yeah,
Driving.
We
Yeah.
stopped multiple times to let deer cross the
Yeah.
road. There was tons of them out.
It's
Yeah.
like
It was
all
like-
the animals were at the edge of the road. It was really weird.
Right. It was like everything was just being drawn to the trace that night. And I mean, we seen the beaver, the
Remember that
armadillos, the owls, everything.
God, that owl was crazy.
That owl.
Well, I'm gonna fast
That'll be
forward
weird.
for just a second and touch on the animals that were out there in the road. So when everybody came back and had their encounters, several of us, and this time I went back out. And Mark, Latisha, you guys were riding with me. And how many deer did we see?
Oh man, we've seen a lot more than we usually do.
Yeah, probably about 20,
Maybe more than that.
maybe a little more,
Yeah.
20 or 30 maybe. More than usual for down there for sure,
Right.
but not hundreds.
So let's talk about Michelle, Anna, and Latisha. When you guys came back to camp, I know I, for one, was sitting there. And like you guys came out and you were like, holy cow, you ain't gonna believe this, you know?
I said, we own this one. We own this one. We've seen it.
And Latisha, your exact words were, we saw a miniature Mothman.
Yeah. That's what it looked like. That's the only way I could describe it.
Yeah.
That hybrid I was telling you about earlier, well, she just said miniature Mothman.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much what I saw on YouTube. This hybrid that had bat wings and like human legs, but like tiny people human legs in the body. It was just like the same size of what we saw. But I cannot explain the red eyes.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because that's what, like, you three spent several minutes talking about.
It was
to us.
looking right at us.
Yeah.
It was watching us.
Those red eyes, they were so bright.
Like lasers.
Like laser.
laser beams. Yes.
Yes.
Bright red. They were not translucent. It wasn't because the car lights hit them or anything like that. They were red, like somebody was shining laser lights right at us. It was staring at us. Whatever it was staring at us. And that's what caught our attention was the eyes.
Yeah.
It drew our attention, all three of us. It drew our attention because those eyes were so bright red.
Right.
And staring right
You're
at
like,
us.
what is that?
And it was on the side of the road, right on the side of the road on the trace.
Right.
Yeah, so ladies, tell them how it took off without flapping its wings.
Well, first of all, I'd like to tell you, so the eyes is what drew my attention and their attention, I'm assuming. And we were just staring at it. And then all of a sudden, you just see these wings just open up. I mean, they just opened up, and they were bat wings. There's no other wings they were. They were bat wings. The creature itself was tall and skinny. I never seen legs. I never seen the face. I never seen it flap its wings. But the only way I can describe it is whenever it opened its wings, it just did this like twist, and it was like,
and it
was gone.
Yeah.
It just did and it was
I
gone.
saw that too.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I have to say something here real quick. Since you're sitting behind your phone, Latisha, you cannot demonstrate for all of us exactly what it did like you did the rest of us.
No, everybody should see that in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I don't think I can stand up and do it. I don't have room behind me.
Come on now.
Well, I mean, what amazed me the most is that the animals were so active, and I mean, not just some. I mean, all.
Mm-hmm.
If it was reptile or not. I mean, they were everywhere.
Everywhere.
Because Elijah had gotten a video of a beaver playing out in the middle of the road.
Right.
And they're standing there. I mean, they're sitting there watching it play, and it didn't do anything.
It ran out the road in front of us. We almost hit the beaver.
And we actually thought they hit the beaver because their headlights stopped and we lost them. So we was like, oh no, they probably hit it, but they didn't. They were out filming it.
Yeah.
So for the
Right.
listeners out there, ladies, tell everyone how tall this thing was.
I'm thinking whenever it came up, I'm saying about 16 inches, 16 to 20 inches tall.
Yeah.
So, and the wings were just. He asked me were they as wide as the front of my car, and I was like, no, they're not that. They weren't that wide, but I'm thinking about 3 foot
3 feet.
at least. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it seemed to me, about 3 feet, the wingspan.
Yeah.
And it was bat wings. It
Yeah,
was, there
that
was
was
no
bat
feathers.
wings. Definitely.
It wasn't-
The body was black. You could see its belly.
And it was skinny and long. It was.
Thin and long, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I never seen the legs. I never seen the face, and I never seen it flap. I just
Nope.
seen it swoosh and gone.
Yeah.
And I can't. And the only way I can describe it's like a dust devil or something, or maybe something like vacuumed it up. I can't explain it. I can't explain the way it moved and the way it just was gone.
God, for sure.
Vixen Doe says a lot of people have reported this entity rise up in the air like a helicopter without flapping the wings.
That's what it did.
That's basically
But
what
it was a
is.
fast helicopter. I mean, it went up fast.
Yeah, it did go up fast.
Uh-huh.
So, how far from War Criminal 7 and Gabby's encounter did your encounter happen? It was right in the same area, if I remember correctly.
Within a mile, maybe 2 miles. Because
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly where their encounter was, like the exact spot, but I'm pretty sure it was within a couple of miles because they was only like maybe 10 minutes behind us when we got back to camp, maybe 15 at the most. So
Right.
I'd say within a mile or two
Yeah.
was the.
We all headed out in 2 cars. We all headed out to go to the same spot to investigate. And once we got to that particular spot we were investigating, we split up. They went on in to stop at a little store, I think it was. And then we headed back to camp. And then they were just a little bit
They were
behind us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the crazy part was when we was coming back, we was just driving down the trace and we had our windows down. And I believe it was Michelle first heard like a whooping noise.
I heard a whoop.
And then me and Anna heard the whoop. And then we immediately heard a bark. And that was driving down the trace with our windows open. So
Yeah. And it was very clear. It has to be driving down the trace and to hear that. It was like standing right there and having one just whoop right in your ear. It's the first time I've ever heard the whoop before.
Yep.
That was really interesting. And it
And
was,
then it was
right
almost
off the trace.
right. And then almost immediately it was the bark.
Yes.
The bark. And we all heard the bark.
Yeah.
So, it was
Except for me. I didn't hear the bark.
Oh, and me.
I didn't see anything.
And me.
Too, so I
Right.
didn't hear it either.
Disembodied voice.
Yeah.
Bart, you forget I was sitting right next to you.
Right.
We didn't
except
hear
for
a
us.
thing.
Yeah, we didn't hear a
We
thing.
didn't hear
Didn't see a thing.
nothing.
But we had some good company, so
We did.
we'll get them
Yes.
next time, Martin.
Yes.
Don't feel bad, brother. I know you're in chat.
Yeah.
I think me, you, and Martin need to go out and see what we find.
Right.
There you go.
So then I just want to mention, like, you know, some people say, well, maybe it was an owl. Well, it wasn't an owl because we did see a few owls that night.
Come on,
And
Al.
it was not an owl. That's what I keep telling everybody. It was not an owl. Somebody said a crane. I'm like, no, it was not a crane. There's no way it was a crane. But I do remember the weirdest, one of the weird parts was when we was going down, we was almost back to camp, and that owl that was on the right side of the road that flew off, and you could see its legs, and it was just barely going up, really slow, and it was just,
Flying towards us. It really scared me. And what kind of an owl hangs out on the side of a road?
I don't know, and it was just creepy the way it was flying away. It was just like it didn't have a care in the world, and it was just slowly. It
Slow
looked,
motion.
it looks like a fairy. That's what I said. It looks like a fairy, but it was an owl. I know that one was an owl, but
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I feel
never-
like you can tell a difference. I mean, an owl has feathers.
yes,
Yeah, I got a good look at it through the headlights and everything. It was an owl.
Yeah. There was no mistaking
Right.
the owl, but the
Right.
other thing,
Yeah.
we just didn't know what it was.
and I've been looking. I can't find anything that even comes anywhere near it.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Tex. Thank you, Tex. And he
Thank
says,
you.
he says, me and Brother Bart have got to go.
Yeah, anytime, Tex.
Now BMR is saying now he needs that hot dog sauce. Well, the key is you
Oh.
have to come to the LBL with us, and you will get that.
Yeah. So what it is basically is a brotherhood of the Wolf Club, and we meet down here every time we can, and it's not really necessarily to research, just to have a good time and enjoy everybody's company. And that's like what the third or fourth time that we met down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really easy to join the Brotherhood of the Wolf. There's no Facebook page or anything like that. You just have to come down and go out into the woods with us one time at LBL.
And we'd like to welcome our new member, Ava. Hi,
Right.
Ava.
Welcome, Eva.
She is our newest member.
Yeah. Ava is my 13-year-old daughter, and before anybody jumps down my throat, she was 100% safe, and we will talk about
Right.
that here in a few minutes. I would not have taken her with people that I do not trust, and every one of these people here, plus the people who want to stay anonymous, I trust wholeheartedly. So don't throw me under the bus for taking my kid to the LBL.
You know, it's not like the LBL is unsafe for kids. There's thousands of them go there every year. You just have to be aware of your surroundings. And
Right.
Yeah.
30 years of doing this, I've never had anybody so much as get scratched on one of my expeditions or meetings, or
Except for Martin.
except for Martin, who got a hairline fracture on his leg. But we won't talk. It doesn't count. Put it that way.
Right.
That was paranormal related.
Right.
Never let anyone get injured. Put it that way.
Exactly. So let's move a little forward. You guys were back, and we were all talking about your encounter, and we were like, "Oh my God!" So what was it? And we were Googling what it could be. I know I was trying to Google.
Googling midget Mothman. Yeah. How
Mothman
much came
Jr.
up on that? It's Google
Yeah.
search.
So
Surprisingly.
service was very choppy for me, and so it kept kind of coming in and out. And then down the road came War Criminals 7 and Gabby and Elijah Henderson, and
Right.
they got out and they walked up, and Gabby, her first words were, "I saw the beast of the LBL."
Yes, she
You guys
did.
remember?
I thought she was
Yes,
kidding.
he did.
Yes,
I thought she was kidding. I thought surely this has got to be a joke. But
we all
then
thought.
again, it was Gabby saying that, and she doesn't joke around a lot. She has a great sense of humor. Don't get me wrong, but she doesn't or anything like that.
He was telling the truth.
She
Right?
was just so excited and just, dude, I didn't know, but I
Yeah.
believed her. I believed every word she said.
Well, it wasn't her normal behavior
Right.
Right.
when she was talking. Because she sounded so excited and
Uh-huh.
and in shock, and she's it just wasn't her normal behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
So
Elijah was just like,
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Well, I'm going to War Criminal 7. He wants to remain anonymous, and we all can understand that. So I will honor his wishes. However, he did send me a detailed description of what he saw. So I'm going to read that real quick. And this is War Criminal 7's testimony. It says, on May 6th, myself, Elijah, and Gabby Henderson was traveling on the trace in the land between the lakes. The moon was almost full, and it had a beautiful orange hue to it. The wildlife was out in abundance. We had seen over 100 deer. We also had seen a friendly beaver, and Elijah asked me to stop to video it. Elijah was able to get unusually close to the beaver, as the beaver seemed fine with Elijah's presence. We probably seen 20 snakes. Most of them looked like copperheads in the road. We seen an armadillo, raccoon, skunks. The wildlife was everywhere around the roadway. Around 2340-ish, I noticed a dark-colored creature in the center of the road. The creature was low to the ground in a low crouched position. My eyes immediately went to the head, where I had seen 2 pointy ears and a short muzzle. And I got to elaborate on that. He told me today when I talked to him on the phone, he said it was kind of somewhere between like a boxer's muzzle to but not as long as like a German Shepherd's. That was his words. I noticed it had black fur with some gray around the neck area. The second thing that caught my eye was the right shoulder of the creature. The creature had a rounded shoulder muscle like a human deltoid. The shoulder looked pronounced from the creature's body. The third thing I noticed was the length of the creature's back, and as my eyes followed the back, I seen a humanish looking thigh. I did not see a tail. The most unusual thing about this encounter is the way the creature moved. It was moving extremely fast. When the creature was moving, I didn't see a lot of bouncing up and down like a normal animal movement. Considering the speed at which this creature moved, it was in a very awkward, low crawl. It looked very unnatural to any animal I've ever seen, and I've seen plenty of bears with mange, shout out to Martin Groves, wild hogs. Never seen anything like this in 40 years of hunting. After some thought after the experience, the one thing that made sense is the animal was running on its fingers or floating, and that's purely speculation. That's really the only way I could wrap my head around how this creature moved. There's no doubt in my mind after hearing what fellow experiencer Gabby Henderson gave as her description of the creature combined with my description. We seen an humanoid known as the beast of the land between the lakes.
Isn't that awesome?
Very strange how it moved.
Yes.
It's I've heard of that before, the spider crawl type
Yes.
deal, but I've never heard of a dog man really doing it, or it's kind of rare, at least in my experience.
Right.
So,
right. Exactly. So I don't know. It was just kind of weird. Real quick, I'm going to throw some different links out in the chat for everybody. I've put Barton's up. I'm going to share Michelle's and Anna's YouTubes. Also, we have some moderators out there tonight that also have channels. So Robbie Raines is one of them. D.A. Roberts is one of them, and Nana Boss. So throughout the evening, I will throw theirs out, and BMR is out there, and Tex. So I'm just going to kind of throw some.
Oh, we got Terry Mosby out there. Don't forget Terry.
Well. Yep. So anyway, okay. So that was War's encounter, what he saw. Now, to describe his truck, what is that big light above?
It's just a bar light.
Okay.
A light bar.
Right.
A light bar.
So
Yeah.
War had a big bar light, so which I think helped them to get a better look at what they saw.
Right.
Yeah.
It's possible because they saw all those snakes and we never seen a single snake. And I was thinking, Michelle was driving, so I would think if there was snakes on the road, she would have saw those. And I never heard, you never saw no snakes, did you?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. Anna, and I don't think Anna didn't either. And they,
I didn't either.
and at that time, that's when we were going where we was headed. And they were kind of right behind us there for a little while. And I never seen a snake. So it was,
I know. So
it's like we drove into another dimension.
Right. Crazy.
I don't know.
The whole thing sounds crazy and just bizarre as can be. And
Yeah.
I don't know. What I find more bizarre than anything is not the sightings of the whatever they were, but the moon. There were other campers in the park that night, and they didn't note any change in the moon color or size either. And Elijah described it as a big orange pumpkin up there in the sky. And like I said, it was a pretty small moon. It wasn't huge like the 6 witnesses who went out down the trace.
Right.
Wasn't what they saw. Not what we saw in camp anyway.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to go back. Gosh, chat is moving pretty fast in there. I'm trying to find it, and I know I didn't pass over it here. Maybe I started. I did. BMR, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Rob.
Yes. Okay, that was it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So
Go ahead.
you were talking about the moon. Titan 70 says, if y'all had to guess, do y'all think the color of the moon played a part in all of y'all's experiences?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
I remember Anna even making a comment, something crazy is going to, I don't know exactly what you said, but I remember you making a comment about that moon as soon as we seen it. It was going to be a crazy night.
Yeah. That's why I said it's going to be a crazy night.
It's going to be a crazy night. Something like that. I knew it was something. And I remember the other night, I believe it was in BMR's show, somebody actually commented that they had taken pictures of the moon that night and said it was just a regular full white moon. There was nothing strange about it. There was no color to it. I remember her posting that on
Right.
BMR's show the other night. So it's like we were the only 6 people that seen that.
Mm-hmm.
And
And we were what, maybe 12 miles from you guys? Maybe?
At that
A
point,
little bit more than that.
a little bit farther than that, probably at that point. But
Yeah.
also, another strange thing that happened was when we got to where we was going, we were asked to take a picture of a certain tree.
Mhm.
Okay. So
oh, yeah.
we find this tree. It's over by a cemetery. We find this exact tree, the rock structure that's in front of it. So we know it's the tree that we're supposed to take the picture of. And Anna had her camera out, and I was standing directly behind her. And she was trying to take a picture of this tree, and I could see it was perfectly, I mean, it was the perfect picture.
Yeah.
And every time she would go to snap the picture, push the button to take the picture, it was like a palm went up in front of the lens. And
Right.
she tried it probably between 8 and 10 times, I would imagine. And every single time, it was the same thing. It was like something went up in front of the lens and covered it. And she never did get a picture of that tree that night.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I don't think she ever did get a clear picture that night.
So is
No.
there a story behind that tree?
I can't remember the story.
Well, I think there is, but it's not ours to tell, Krista. So
Gotcha.
we made
there's someone out there in the chat right now who could tell you that story.
Okay.
And then another thing that was weird was when we left camp, I asked Anna to plug my phone in because I had 20% on my phone.
Mhm.
And so she plugged my phone into her charger, and we got almost where we was going. I said, "How's my phone charging?" She said, "Well, it's down to 13%. I'm like, "Well, that's weird," because it was plugged up, it was working, everything was fine. So we got to where we was going. I said, "How's my phone look now?" She said, "Well, it's still 13%. I said, "Well, just leave it plugged up. It's not going to do me any good. We'll just, use y'all's phones." And then we drove all the way back, which was about an hour, a little over an hour back. And about 3 or 4 minutes before we got back to camp, we heard my phone go da-ding, da-ding, or whatever. And my phone had completely shut off while it was charging and was completely dead.
Yeah.
So it's like my phone got totally zapped. We have no clue. We cannot explain what happened. My phone's always charged perfectly.
Right.
So it was all together. It was just a weird night. Everything that happened.
Yeah.
Crazy.
For sure. So let's back up because on Saturday during the day, we all kind of went out, but then we kind of broke up a little bit. You guys all went your way, and Brandy and myself and our kids, we went to a cemetery. And Brandy, you want to tell that story?
Yeah, it was a little weird because Krista's like, well, we got to go to this cemetery. She said, the last time we were there, some weird things happened. I said, well, let's go back.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and we were out there. And as soon as I got out of the car, I started hearing birds chirping and all kinds of, noise out there. So I had my DVR and I had my headphones so I could really listen to what was going on. So I could hear the animals. So I know what I'm listening for. So if I hear something that isn't quite right, that I'll know. So we started walking in. Well, you got an eerie feeling as you started to walk in, because the place is a little bit overgrown, and some of the headstones are, kind of leaning and hidden by the tall grass. So we kept going, and not like 2 or 3 minutes, standing there. I heard this truck coming. And I thought, oh God, they're going to think we're weird. I'm standing here with earphones and I'm hooked up to a machine. They're not going to know what I'm doing.
Cemetery, no big deal.
Yeah, they're going to think I'm a weirdo, or we were weirdos. So we were more worried about that. We were more worried about that. So we did a couple other things, and we were talking, asking questions, trying to get responses. I got a whistle, and I told Krista, I said, Krista, I got a whistle. But I mean, there were so many birds, but this whistle just didn't sound like what I've been hearing for the last 15, 20 minutes. It didn't sound anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're sitting there, and then I heard a creak, and it sounded like either a rusty door, old wooden door, but it sounded like it was just creaking open. And I'm looking around and I'm like, did y'all hear that? It sounded like a creaky door opening. And Ava heard it, bless her heart. Ava heard it. Krista did not hear it.
Mm-mm.
And then a few minutes later, it happened again.
Yeah.
Ava and I heard it. Krista, did you hear it that time?
No. I never
And she
did.
didn't hear it the second time. Okay, so we went on with that. So after all of this, we decided, hey, we're gonna go sit in the car for a second, and then we're gonna get going. Well, Krista's like, you know what? She goes, I just feel like we need to go. We just need to get out of here. We just need to go. I feel like we're being watched. We need to go. I'm like, okay. So we took off. Well, I have a speaker that I plug into my DVR, and I was listening on the playback. And as that, right before that truck got there, you hear a distinct tree knock.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it cannot be described as anything else. That's what it was. And then as the truck gets closer, you can hear the tree knock like 3 or 4 more times, more in a quicker, rapid succession, like tap, tap, tap.
Actually,
But-
I have some recordings. I have the door creak and I have a tree knock to play that.
Right. But
that
I
Brandon
can't.
captured.
I haven't had a whole lot of time to enhance the audio, and I wanted everybody to hear it in its original form before I started messing with it. But you can't really hear it, when you transfer it. But you can put earphones on and listen to the original, and you can hear it just tapping away. But when I transfer it, it just doesn't sound the same. I don't know why it just doesn't. And then
Do you want
the
me to go
creaking-
ahead and play the door creak real quick?
yeah, and then there's the door creak. Like I said, I've not enhanced this, so you're probably going to have to turn up your audio so you can hear this, or on the playback, turn it up or put some headphones on, because it is the door creak is definitely there. And I looked around thinking, okay, maybe it's an old tree. There are no old trees right where we were. There was nothing. There, these trees that are there were, well, they're not young, but they're not old. I've seen some seriously old trees make a similar sound, but this sounded like a door opening for sure.
Yeah. So let me get to it real quick. I had it up. Here's the door creak, and I'll play it a couple times. So listen up.
That was a weird sound check. See, it's hard to hear.
I heard it.
That was a weird sound check.
You can hear it. You just have to really pay attention.
Yeah, you're going to probably have to put on some earphones. Like I said, I've not had any, this just happened last weekend. So, between work and our shows and stuff like that, I've not had time to really get in there and enhance the video or the audio, because I can remove some of the sound from the outside and get right down to that particular sound.
This is raw. I'm going to go ahead and play the tree knock. See if you guys can hear that one.
Yeah,
Hold on.
it's about 8 seconds into the clip.
Yeah. There it went.
There it went. Yep.
You guys hear it? There it was.
It's right after the birds really start going crazy right there, and then you hear it. But like I said, in just a few more seconds, you'll hear like 3 more in succession. Is pat, pat, pat. You can just hear them. But like I said, I haven't had the time to really take it out, but it is absolutely 100% a tree knock.
Right. Absolutely, it is, and it was different for sure. I mean, that was, I don't know, and to hear a door creak, and I don't know how many of you guys heard it, but we'll have Brandy clean it up, and then we'll play it on a future show. But it's definitely there, because I believe you guys all heard it, didn't you, when we played it back at camp?
Yes,
And
I did.
it's there. You can definitely hear it, and so standing out in the middle of the cemetery, there's no doors. Just saying.
Yeah, no. And like I said, I thought it could possibly be a tree, but I'm looking around going, There are no trees that are that tall there, because somebody had said that had been cleared out. I don't know if it was due to a storm or whatever, but all the older trees are not there anymore. That
Right.
these are basically newer trees, and they weren't that tall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we were standing there, and her daughter and I heard the creaking noise, I
Yeah.
heard it coming from one way, and her daughter heard it from another way.
Yeah.
We both didn't look in the same direction when it happened. We were both looking in different directions going, what happened?
Right.
So I mean, it was weird. It was very weird how that happened.
Yeah. So it was just a very, very weird type weekend. I mean, full of paranormal and the humanoids and you know, and I want to encourage everybody after this show gets over, at the end of the show, I'll post the link to Cryptid Studies Institute, to Gabby's account of what she saw. Also, I will post that in chat, and I will post it on this show's in there too, so y'all can go in and listen to her encounter too, because I mean, it's you know, they were together, they're the same but different, you know.
So then after Saturday night, when Michelle and Anna were leaving Sunday morning, go ahead, Anna or Michelle. Tell us about that.
You want to tell it?
Well, we decided to take a little side trip on our way out to a cemetery to do a little investigation.
We just picked it out of the blue.
Yeah. So she was sitting in the car, and I got out, and I was just kind of walking around, and I found an outhouse. It was a double-seater, you know, it was something special. And then I turned around, and I noticed by the fence line, this cemetery had a chain link fence all the way around it. And by the fence line was this like really worn path. And the worn path stopped to a point of where the chain link fence had been sort of bent in, and the chain link had been pulled back. And I saw some prints on the other side, so I went to go get Anna, and then we went and investigated the print. So you can take it from there, because she spotted it. She's the print spotter.
Right.
Yeah. We were looking at that fence because the top of that chain link fence has the metal bar on it. So it's not just the triangular metal. It had the thick metal bar at the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was totally bent down.
Yeah, it was rolled back.
And we checked to make sure that a large tree had not fallen. There were no limbs
there was a big, like something had pushed like literally that pole in.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were looking, like she said, it was a dirt path right down beside that fence.
And I thought something had gone up under the fence because it was bent up underneath. But when she got to explaining to me, you know, the force of something pushing down on it, that's what pushed the fence underneath up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was like you could, you know, if it was a Sasquatch that stepped
something
over
with great
that,
force had either fallen on that
down.
fence or pushed it, but I don't know what would roll the chain link back.
Yeah. Just the force of pushing forward on that bar, but it was bent in, and something strong, really strong, had to have done that. And so I was paying close attention to the ground around the bent part of the fence, and I found the print, and it was huge.
Yeah.
And I have a little walking cane, so sometimes I'll try to use that, but unless I have it notched with inches or something like that, it's not really going to do a whole lot of good to compare. So I just stuck my 8.5 up there to compare, and it was huge.
And I'm going to show the picture real quick so everybody kind of gets an idea of it. So if you see Anna's foot there, Anna, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, that's I wear an 8.5 size shoe. And if you can see at the bottom right, you can see like the edge of my brown cane that I use, my walking stick. That was the end of the heel, because I wanted to be sure that you understood where the heel of this footprint was. That's how big that footprint is. And at the top of it, you can see the toes.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty incredible.
So your heel was lined up with that heel, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And that print just happened to be right there where the fence had been bent in.
Yeah.
So,
Krista, can you bring that up one more time too?
Sure. Let me go back to it.
Because I want to see where her. Oh, wait a minute. We got.
Let me remove the comment. Hold on, I got to go back. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
You
but
guys are
you can
making me work
see,
tonight.
Okay,
if you
so
can see my cane or my walking stick, the little brown
yeah.
part of the walking stick, that was the very end of the heel of the footprint.
Okay. Yeah. So your heel is lined up with it. So all right. Okay.
That's a big footprint.
Yeah, because I can see the toe marks.
Isn't it wide?
It's wide
Yeah.
and long.
Yeah.
And it was right over the fence, like it had stepped over the fence, smashed the fence, and
You can actually see at the top right corner the chain link where it's bent in at the bottom.
Yes.
yes.
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I think I know which one you were at too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
Did they
on my
have-
list. I didn't make it, but it was on my list. See, Barton, don't feel bad. I'm right with you. I didn't stop at that one.
Well, maybe one day,
One day.
you know,
Yep, exactly.
you just have to have patience, Brandy.
I know.
So you have
I
about
know.
20 more years to go. Okay.
But I will tell you, we're almost at the 52-minute mark. So when I do come back, I'm going to tell you, Barton and I did have an encounter. Maybe not the one anybody would want, but we did. So
Right.
we'll talk about that when we come back from break.
Yes. And the story's not over yet because something happened when we left too. Something.
Oh yeah. I mean, this weekend was crazy no matter what, whether you experienced something or you didn't. I mean, I didn't get to see anything. I didn't see anything, but I tell you what, I didn't walk away empty-handed because I heard it. So
Right.
I've
Yep.
got that.
Yep.
But
absolutely.
we'll see everybody in about 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes. We'll be right back. Hang tight.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for sticking around with us. We appreciate
I
you.
had to warm up my coffee. It went cold. I was too busy talking and listening, and it went cold. I was like, dang. Hate that.
Before we move on real quick, this is coming up. I want to throw this out here. Alabama Bigfoot Conference, June 9th and 10th. Brandy and I will be there. So if you're in the Alabama area, come over and see us.
Anniston. It's in Anniston, Alabama.
Yep. And then this one is a Blondes and Booze event that we are holding at Malvern Manor. If you guys are able to, or in the Iowa or surrounding states area, we'd love to see you. We've got some great people there. I'm going to try to sweet talk Terry Mosby into doing a little UFOing that evening at Malvern too with
Yeah, so you could bring your lawn chairs and hang out with us.
Yes, so that's going to be a cool event. So anyway, back on the LBL.
Okay, so here we are. All right, so Bart and I didn't get to go out with the six that went. We had a friend visit. It was a little skunk. No, it was a big skunk. And I noticed it, and it was dragging something, and it was really close to us, and it was dragging something. I'm like, what is it dragging? It got itself a hamburger and decided it was going to have some dinner. So it just drug it, and it drug it back just a little bit, and then was watching us and eating and just not paying us any mind. But what was odd is it didn't smell. It did not have an odor at all. It was not afraid of us. Nothing.
Yeah.
So it was very strange. So we're sitting there, and we're in the middle the campsite, because that we had 3 right there. So we were in the middle campsite, and we forgot about a pan of beans. We forgot about a pan of beans in the other campsite. So Bart walks down there, and then he walks back. He goes, well, I don't think anybody wants any of those beans. There was little paw prints in it. So evidently it crawled up because it was still sitting on the on the fire pit. So it must have waited until it got cool enough and got up there and got itself another little snack. Yeah. I said, oh, isn't that nice? Yep. I said, it's got a really stink now.
Right. Small price to pay for them not spraying anyone. So
yeah,
I can give them a pot of beans for that.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was just walking around, but it did not have an odor. It was not afraid of us. It didn't care. It's like, I'm eating. I'm just listening to y'all. I'm just going to have a snack.
Real quick, I want to thank Scott. We appreciate you, Scott. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott, so much.
Well,
Oh,
while we were sitting there at camp with the skunk issues, so Brandy had a trail cam. Do you want to explain
Yes.
that, Brandy?
Yeah.
I had a trail cam and I had put it up and I set it up there for probably about 2 hours. And it's it's not necessarily a trail, but it looks like it. It hasn't been walked through a whole lot, but it looked like there's just a hole in the canopy and to the ground. It was just a hole. So I put it right there because I'm like, something's not right. Something just doesn't feel like I'm being watched. So Krista is sitting on one side of me, and I said to her, I said, I keep seeing kind of like a light or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes, did you see that? It kind of looked like lightning out there.
So what I did was I got on my phone and I looked up radar to see if there was any storms coming in, but there wasn't.
There wasn't any at all.
Yeah.
So what we were seeing was just some type of light that kept coming on.
Yeah.
So late in the evening or early morning, everybody decided to go out. My daughter wasn't feeling well, so she was already laying down and she was resting. So I'm outside by myself. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of creepy. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put my trail cam back out. So I put it back out there and I'm out there and I'm messing with the fire for probably about an hour, just hanging around outside, seeing if I could see anything or hear anything. And I still kept getting that I'm being watched feeling, it was just creepy. That's all I could say. So I got up the next morning and I picked up this trail cam and I flicked through it just a little bit. It took over 6,000 pictures. 6,000 pictures.
Yes.
wow.
Now, I have been through about 1,500 of those thus far. And because it takes it, whenever it notices motion, it'll take 3 burst shots. So I can see if something's actually moving. Of course, a lot of it is like a little bit of wind would come through, move a little tree branch while it would zap that. And then I was watching a little bit of the bugs that were flying by. You would see them just keep going by. But I did see a 3-shot burst where there is nothing, then one ball of light, and then nothing.
Yeah. Real
All
quick,
in that 3
I
shot.
don't want to interrupt you, Brandy, but thank you, Terry.
Thank you,
very much.
Terry. We appreciate you.
Yes.
But it was just a light.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was out there that late with a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was going on. All the lights that were on were still on at the time. Nothing had changed except for this, And let me say, there was no lightning bugs. Nothing that could have.
DA commented that it might have been heat lightning. It wasn't super hot, and I don't know how hot it has to be for heat lightning, but it really wasn't.
It didn't light up. It's hard to say or explain it. It didn't light up the whole sky. It was just in this one particular spot that we kept looking at.
Mm-hmm.
It was just in this spot.
Yeah, not saying it's anything paranormal. It was just an oddity to make note of.
Yeah, it was just weird. But then later on, like I said, when I'm going through my 6,000 pictures, that I still have to go through more. But there is like an orb-like thing that is in one of the pictures down this trail.
Mm-hmm.
That's only in one of a 3-shot burst. So it's like it blinked on, blinked off.
Yeah.
That's all I can say, because it takes them, at a very quick pace. The shutter speed is fast and quick. So it was just an itty bitty millisecond. It was there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I need to dig into that further. I'm going to have to, blow it up, analyze it, see if it was a bug of any sort or anything like that. But it was just another weird thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, the overall creep factor was definitely there.
Yeah. So we'll back up again after Latisha and Michelle and Anna and War Criminal and Elijah and Gabby came back. We're all like, let's go back, 2 encounters, let's go back. So we piled in 2 different cars and we went back, I guess, to the general area where this was. And I had my kid with me. So, there was just a dogman sighting. I'm not going to let my kid out. And so she and I made her stay in the car and I locked the doors. They knew that. And tell us what you guys heard, because Latisha, you come back and you told me you guys heard something in the woods.
Yeah, we was hearing it. We didn't know what it was, but we was hearing something over in the woods, and somebody said that they, I believe it was Gabby, said she thought it was a skunk. So she thought she thought she seen a skunk, but whatever we was hearing was louder than a skunk, and it sounded like it was just walking down the woods beside us, and then we heard a bark. So, or no, I'm sorry, it was not a bark, it was a growl. We heard a growl, and that's when I came over there and told you. I was like, I asked you to shut your car off because we couldn't really hear because you was ready to go if something happened.
And my kid, I was in mama mode.
And he was like, and you backed out. And I went back over there, and then I think we heard it maybe one more time, the little growl, and everybody kept hearing something over in the woods, but we never did figure out what it was. It could have been anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything that was willing to come out when Elijah blew his Aztec death whistle.
Yep.
So he blew that several times, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
He blew that. And
we were too late, I think.
We did a few call blasts. Mm-hmm. And by the time we all went out the second time, it was like everything had changed. It was completely different. Everything was quiet. We did see the deer, still seeing the deer out, but it was just different. It was a whole different atmosphere that after we went out the second time.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to remind about the skunks. When Anna and Michelle and myself came back from our trip, the skunks that we were seeing were the reverse skunks. They were the white skunks. And I don't see those very often. So that was kind of weird for me. I don't know if they're like...
It's not weird at all. There's 2 different types of skunks.
Well, I know there's 2 different types, but it was just the fact that that's what we seen that night with the white ones so much. Yeah. It just added to the whole weirdness of the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, because everything was just out in the open. I mean, they were in the road. They were just everywhere. It was crazy. It was definitely crazy.
Yeah, it was. And then let's fast forward to Sunday. So this is, a lot of people, that around that area, people don't want to talk about any of the negative that's happened out there. And we were leaving, and we rented cabins this past weekend. So when you check out, you have to make sure they go down and make sure that you cleaned your cabins out. So I had to pull over and wait while a park ranger went down and checked out our cabins. So me and my daughter were sitting there in the car, and then he comes up to me and he said, "You were with the bunch that was doing that paranormal type stuff up on the hill." And I said, "Yeah." And the reason he knew that is because I do have a Bigfoot sticker on the back of my car. So, I mean, that's obvious. It's not like he knew, But I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, did you have any luck?" And so I had told him about the EVP that Brandy got. And then I said, I know you're a park ranger. However, a couple people had some weird encounters early in the morning. 2 different cryptid and humanoid type creatures were seen. And he looked at me and he said, 2 kids saw a dogman right here in this campground. And then he proceeded to tell me that there's over 15 reported Bigfoot sightings crossing the road there at that campground. And my daughter is my witness. Latisha, you talked to my daughter. She said the same thing I did. Swear to God, it's the truth.
Absolutely. And then, Chris, I don't know if I've told you this, but after I started thinking about it, that was the same ranger that told me, War Criminal, and Daryl all the last time we was there when we were leaving camp to watch out for the critters.
Yes.
So it's the same. It was the same ranger that said that. And I was just thinking maybe he was talking about watch out for the skunks because, there were skunks everywhere. But why would he tell me that as I'm leaving camp, to look out for the critters? You would think he would have said something like that coming into the camp where they're all at.
Right.
So it's something going on down there.
I fully believe so.
Yeah, because he never said that he had any experiences or encounters. He just said he has heard or has seen reports of these things happening.
Yeah.
I love how they do that.
Yep. So I was pretty shocked that he even told me that two kids seen a dog man right there in the park that we were at. And then there's over 15 Bigfoot reported sightings along that road, which I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and then, we heard so many reports right there in that particular area about paranormal activity.
Mm-hmm.
Just right there. I'm like, we're going to have to go back just so I could do that. I didn't even know about that until it was too late. I'm like,
Right.
well.
And he also told me about a cemetery that was right there by our cabin that wasn't far from it. So next time we're there, we'll check that out too.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yay.
Letitia's like, yay.
And it's like Brandy and I, not the rest of y'all. I'm sorry.
She'll go out and find a big critter or a flying critter, but she won't do a ghost.
No. I don't do ghosts.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a pretty crazy and eventful weekend.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, most
Had a
definitely.
good time.
Yeah, park rangers don't always say anything down there, but every now and then you'll get one that's being more honest than he's supposed to be. And I remember, was last year we was down there with Mark Maycheck and Katie's.
Yep.
Yeah, we went to this little roadside burger joint to buy everybody burgers in. And there were 4 park rangers sitting at the table there. It was like 10 tables, all empty except for theirs. And we ordered our food and got our food. I was waiting for Mark and I sit down, and I went and sit down right next to the park rangers and struck up a conversation with them, and there were 4 of them, and one of them started talking. He was kind of a big talker. So I told him who I was and what I did, and write books and stuff about the unexplained mysteries and Bigfoot. Asked me if he ever seen Bigfoot in the park. And he said he'd worked at 8 national parks in the country in his life, and he'd seen Bigfoot in 7 of those national parks.
Wow.
Now, keep in mind, his superior officer was sitting right next to him, staring daggers at him. Like, why are you talking to this guy?
Right.
And he said the only park that he hadn't seen Bigfoot in was the LBL.
That's unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. We have a whole slew of questions, so I'm going to.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. So
Here we go.
Here we go. First question. Facebook user says, how far from Detroit is the land between the lakes?
Oh.
A long way.
I would say land between the lakes from your house, Latisha, is what? Not land between the lakes. Detroit. We went through there. So that was what, 6 hours? And now another hour and a half onto it.
Yeah, about 8 hours, I would say.
Yeah, I would say about 8 hours from Detroit. Guessing.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's
Titan,
not bad.
Titan 70 says, did y'all think to take pics of the moon?
Nope.
Absolutely.
Did
Go
try
ahead.
to take pics when we were driving down the trace, but it would get, I guess because we were driving, 55, 60 going down through there,
Yeah.
the ridgelines would come up and it would hide it before I could get my camera up there. I did get a couple of shots, but it was later on when it finally came into view again, about 10, 15 minutes later, and it was white then.
Yeah. Wow.
And I have these pictures.
Yeah, I've got a
but-
shot of the white one.
yeah.
But early on when we first saw it, it literally looked like a huge orange beach ball.
It looked like the blood moon.
It did.
Honestly.
Wow.
It was just so huge, and the way it just appeared, it was like we're driving and there's nothing, and all of a sudden it's just like bam, moon, and we all was like, whoa.
Larger than life.
Wow. Real quick,
incredible.
Robin Blake, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Robin.
Definitely appreciate you. All right, we have more questions. We've got a lot of questions. When you guys were talking about the moon, let's see. Here's one. Terry asked, do you all think the deer were running from the mini Mothman creature? And Terry asked, what is the trace? I'll let you all answer those.
The trace is the road that goes right down to the middle of LBL, from one end to the other.
It's
From the Kentucky end to the Tennessee end. And,
about a
yeah, and that's the midget Mothman, not the mini Mothman.
It's the midget.
The midget Mothman.
I was calling it Mothman Junior.
I mean, we don't know, but we did talk about how War Criminal and Gabby and Elijah were behind us after we seen our sighting, and we heard the whoops and the barks as we was coming through, and we're wondering if maybe we didn't, rustle it up, and then after we pass it and hear it, they see it. So
it did seem like the animals were coming out of the forest,
yeah,
and we're close to the road. We saw so many different animals that night and so many deer.
Yeah,
and they were all close to the road.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
In the morning, we were seeing the deer, coming out when we were driving the trace. So,
well, when I was coming in Saturday morning, they, because you're going through there, and of course you're looking for everything, and even into the woods, and you're trying to see everything. You don't want to miss nothing in case there's something there. So, I'm only going about maybe 40, 35. Right.
Real quick, Roger LBL says driving 55, 60 with all that wildlife popping in and out. Roger, I was not at that time. I was guys, maybe doing 30, 35.
I was going to say, yeah, going through there, we're looking everywhere. We're not driving fast at all.
You
really have to be careful.
Shot right across.
Yeah.
Some of them were just taking their time crossing the road. We just had to come to a complete stop in the road and let them go.
Exactly. Right.
Exactly.
And I know we wasn't driving really fast at all when we was going through there, because you never knew. I mean, there was
because you weren't driving.
Well,
if
yeah.
you were driving. Her nickname is Danica because she drives like a race car driver. And I think Michelle does too, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm telling you, there was too many deer to go fast that night. There was too many animals just on the roadway to even think about going fast that night. It was not safe. It was not safe to go.
The deer was definitely in my mind.
And there was lots of eye shine from the deer on the sides of the road, and we were paying attention.
Their eye
to
shine
those.
is white though.
Yeah, and that was such a difference compared to those laser red eyes that we saw
that were staring us down.
Huge difference.
Okay, next question. Terry asked again, and that's a good question. Could it have been an elemental that you three ladies seen?
I don't know much about elementals.
Their elementals are like these forest creatures, and they take care of the land, and they can be both good and bad. If you help them out with the land, then you're okay. But if you I've done a paranormal cases. Well, one in particular that ended up being an elemental, and Terry was actually on that case with me. But we ended up planting apple trees to give back, and the homeowners could never pick the apples. So it's anything from people say trolls, fairies, things like that. Just everybody has different beliefs.
They're all shapes and sizes, could be anything, and it very well could have been. Since because we've still been looking to see if we could find even something that is remotely close to what you're describing. I'm not finding it.
Yeah,
I can't say either way. I just don't know what I saw. I actually thought I was could have him sketch it because he's such a good artist. I thought, well, I'll just tell him what I saw.
Yes,
without
absolutely.
without a face, and without legs, and without everything that I didn't see, I'd be like, well, we'd have bright red eyes, and we'd have some bat wings, but we wouldn't have, and we'd have a tall, skinny body, but we wouldn't have much else.
Yeah.
So,
well, did you ever think that maybe you were so focused in on the brightness of its eyes that you may have missed a couple other features? Because I've done that.
Possible, because I didn't really. I was focused on the eyes until the wings opened, And then when the
Right.
windows opened, that was like, and then
Yeah.
the swooshing gone.
No, I don't
Well,
consider
and then plus at nighttime, of course, those eyes are going to even appear more red at nighttime than they would in the daytime. So yeah, I could see where that would cause a problem in trying to describe its actual facial features, because the eyes would overpower everything.
And it
What'd you,
did.
Yeah.
what'd you say, Michelle? I didn't hear what you said.
the red eyes like that just reminds me of something demonic. It doesn't remind me of any kind of good forest type people at all. It's just the red eyes just stand out, just like you see in a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, that type of red eye shine. It's not from the headlights. It's just there.
It's just there.
And we all three said seemed like it was staring at us. It really
Yeah,
just,
definitely
it drew us
staring
in, I
mean,
felt like it was staring at us.
Like, what is that? We
Mhm.
all thought it.
And slowed
Yeah.
slowed in a little bit because we were trying to figure out what that was.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
when the wings opened and it just did that twist, that odd twist, and it was gone.
Right.
Wow.
I don't know, Krista. Terry may be onto something about it being an elemental.
Well, I had spoke with the Nana boss. We chatted this week on the phone about your guys' encounter, and she asked me then if any of you guys had any type of missing time.
Not that I know of. I don't think so. Honestly.
Well, I wouldn't consider it missing time.
Yeah.
No.
Mhm.
Everything kind of lined up. We got back to camp, right around the same time, that in the amount of time before War Criminal and Gabby and Elijah showed back up. So I don't think there was any missing time.
Mm-mm.
No.
Right. Right.
Definitely not me. I didn't have any either.
Titan 70 says, I believe Linda Godfrey wrote about a flying dog man that lived on a reservation in Arizona. Have any of you guys heard about any of that?
I haven't heard about that, but that's scary.
Yeah.
But I'm going to write that down because now I need to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and
Yeah.
Linda were close.
Right.
Remember it?
But we talked for years about all kinds of things. So, but I don't really recall no flying dog man.
Okay. Okay.
But that's me. I'm getting old, I'm not 40 anymore.
I hear you. Be Kind says a friend of hers is hiking, and last weekend he sent a picture of the huge moon in, it looks like North Carolina. It was all white.
All white. See?
Now, I did a search on the internet, and there are some pictures by a few people. I took screenshots on my phone where some people were taking pictures of the moon being orange. And if I read correctly, there was actually a lunar eclipse on the 5th. But I think that was for like Australia. You could see it in that area. But that's still odd. It just adds to the creep factor.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't have been able to see it at all anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. It makes you think that you were there in the LBL, but you were, it's almost like you were in a different,
Slip
I
through
don't
the
even know,
veil.
like in a different dimension, same
Yeah.
place, but a different spot from
Yeah.
everybody else.
That's what Mark said. He said maybe I was in a different dimension. I mean,
It could be like it's the same time frame. I mean, it's the same time. You're just not in this dimension. You may have sidestepped just a hair into something else. I mean, it's just a thought.
Yeah.
That we were driving down the trace. We were trying to pay attention. I know Latisha was really paying attention to see how far back War Criminal was to us, because we were all going to the same place originally. And there was one moment that she lost sight of his headlights there for just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was kind of
Okay.
concerned that he was so far behind. I thought, because I kept looking for him. He was quite a ways back there. I don't know.
It did take a while because at that one point I actually turned around in my seat and I was like, I don't see him. I don't see him. And I think, didn't you pull over to wait for him at one point just for a second?
Yeah.
And then finally here we've seen his headlights come up.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you pulled over for just a minute at one point to just kind of let him catch up with us. So that was a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just
I
weird.
think Robbie and Terry are tracking with me.
Yep.
You know.
They're on the same page too.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, because like a glitch in the matrix, or the best thing that I could think of is a pocket dimension. It's the same. You're in the same spot, but you're just slightly off. So that is very weird. Very weird, though.
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
I'm really
But
glad all 6 of us seen it though.
Yeah.
But I kept saying that it was kind of like a weird trifecta thing that was happening that whole entire weekend. We had storms brewing up and supposedly coming in, that were supposed to be there Saturday night. They never came.
Right?
But you could feel the humidity, and you could feel the pressure change, and the wind picking up. But the storm just never made it.
Yeah.
And then we had, we were just getting over the full moon phase. So we were coming out of the full moon phase. And then, it was just like the warm weather. It was just all these things combined. It was just weird. It made you feel weird. Not in a bad way, just different.
Right. Martin asked Anna and Michelle if you could talk about your findings and encounter at Boswell's Landing. I believe you did, though. Kind of briefly talked about it.
Not tonight. This happened in August, right before the Dogman conference. We had crazy experiences there. I don't know if we got enough time to tell y'all everything that happened those 2 nights to us. We did not sleep. It was scary.
Yeah, she wrote a short story about it.
Okay.
I can give a quick rundown if somebody wants a quick rundown.
Go ahead,
if you have
give
time.
a quick rundown.
Yeah, let's
do it. Yeah, come on, bring it on.
Okay, so Michelle and I, we wanted to go to the Dogman Conference, which was in Paris, Tennessee in August, this past August. And we decided to tent camp because we couldn't find a cheap enough hotel room. So we decided to tent camp. And Michelle, she camps all the time. So she picked out the campground. And it was Boswell's Landing, which is a backcountry campground. So all you have when you get there is your gravel pad, a fire pit, and a picnic table. If you don't bring your own light, you don't bring your own firewood, tough. You're out of luck. And so that's what we did. We went down on a Friday as we're driving the trace going towards Boswell's Landing. All of a sudden, there's all these crows. Every turn, crows were landing in the road. And I was like, that's not a good omen. I'm not feeling good about this already.
Right.
So we get to the campground. We pull in. It's about sunset. We're starting to set up our tent and stuff like that. And she looks over at the cemetery because we picked the spot that's directly across from the cemetery. So she sees,
next to the Dogman Trail, apparently, but we didn't know it at that time.
Didn't know it at the time.
That would be me. Yeah, that would be me too. Yeah.
And she saw a red light in the cemetery, and this is at dusk, so it was the sun was just setting. We get our everything set up, and now it's dark, and we didn't have firewood. That was the only thing we forgot, but we did forgot firewood. So she had her headlamp and a couple of other little lights. We started seeing white round lights in the forest. So she goes over to the cemetery to look around and take pictures and video. I didn't walk over there because I did not have a headlamp, and I didn't want to chance walking it because of the way my legs are from the car accident. So I stayed behind and sat on the picnic table while she was over there. While she was over there, I'm sitting on the picnic table, and I see a dark figure in the wood line in front of me. And everybody knows how dark the LBO is at night anyway. And this was me looking. It looked like I was staring at one of those metal cutouts of Bigfoot, because I could see the head, the broad shoulders, long arms, but past that I couldn't see anything. And I started getting really spooked, but I've had so many paranormal experiences in my life that I've learned to kind of shut down, because I feel like sometimes if you give it fear, it can feed off that. And I didn't want to do that if that's what I was seeing. So Michelle is over in the cemetery taking her pictures. And as she starts walking back towards across the road, it turned its head to look at her. It was,
and it's weird because when I was taking the pictures, I showed you all the Dogman I caught in the line. That's the picture. That was the time we were there. And the little demon in the cemetery, I caught that there too. As she was experiencing this shadow Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if that's what I was seeing. I could have been seeing something that was mimicking it. It could have been, I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know that that's what it looked like to me, was a very dark outline, and it was very still until Michelle came to come back to the campsite, and it turned its head to look right at her, and her headlamp swooped across where I was looking, and there was nothing there.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why I wasn't sure if it was like an actual physical, whatever that was standing there at the time. But when her headlamp went across, there was nothing there. So yeah, we didn't sleep that night.
And at 3 o'clock in the morning, about 3 or 3:30, my tent got brushed right by my head. And
so I have to ask, Michelle, were you sleeping in the tent by yourself? And Anna, were you in the car like this past weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was in a smaller tent though. At this time, I was in like my 3-man tent. It was a lot smaller than the one I was using this time.
Okay.
So I was laid out on a cot. And so my head was literally touching, the side of the tent. And this thing just brushed it. So, I literally just set up, pretty much for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I could have slept either.
I'm sorry?
Nope.
I couldn't have slept either.
No,
Yeah,
I didn't sleep for 48 hours.
We didn't sleep both nights. We were there.
Because the next night, as soon as my head hit the pillow, we heard howls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday night after the Dogman conference.
Yeah. After hearing Martin Grove's story.
Yeah. We were like,
I think I would have crawled in the car too. I'd have said, "Move over." We snuggling.
Right.
She was yelling for me when she heard the howl.
Did you hear that?
And
I didn't get a response. I thought she was asleep.
I heard her speak, but I didn't know. I thought she was on the phone. I didn't know she was yelling for me, but I actually raised up in the Jeep because I heard the howl too. It was just one long, deep howl.
Yeah.
And this wasn't from a dog or.
There were coyotes going off.
There were coyotes.
But this howl was not a
completely
coyote.
different.
It's nothing like I've ever heard. I've heard coyotes my whole life.
And we only heard it that one time, very long, very deep. We knew it was far off. We could tell that it was far off, but we didn't hear any more after that. It was just
right.
Yeah, no, Anna, I'd have been, hey, you know what? Do you want to be the big spoon or the little spoon? That's it. We gonna cuddle.
She heard that because then we just both were sleepless.
Yeah.
Then we're in the Jeep.
And then what freaked me out even more was I got Martin's second book and was reading the stories in his second book and came upon the story on Boswell's Landing. And we had no clue that there had been other experiences there, or a Dogman Trail was actually in Boswell's Landing.
Oh, wow.
That freaked me out even more because it just kind of solidified that, no, I'm not crazy. We did experience things that night, and it was a full moon.
Yes, of course.
And there was a meteor shower that night as well.
Wow. Okay.
I also saw a duck head in the lake the next day because she was up at camp, and I went out and got on the float to get some sun for a little while, and there was a duck head floating in the water.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, just the head?
Just the head.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ew. Okay. That's odd, That's just odd.
Okay, next question. Let's put it up here. Titan 70 says, have any of y'all researched the LBL, the origins that, there you go, I guess are the causes that might explain these happenings in the LBL? I know, Bart, you've
right. Well, the land going all the way back to the Native Americans is not just the white people that have seen these things, but the land was considered cursed. The entire state of Kentucky was considered cursed and uninhabitable by humans because of all the violence and bloodshed that had taken place there and the ghosts of the dead people. Yeah. So it's not. None of this is a new thing. None of the phenomena that we've been talking about tonight is new. It's all like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. And I myself was able to take a report from a lady that actually saw one of these things back in 1948. So that's 15 years before the government takeover in 1963. So it's I think it's the land itself that plays host to these things. We're right over the biggest underground cavern system in the known world. So there's no telling what's down there. There's no telling what lives there. So there's nothing new. It's all been done and seen before there in LBL, and it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It doesn't change the fact that the place has a history going back for probably thousands of years of crazy, strange, paranormal activity.
Mm-hmm. And when he says paranormal activity
of all kinds, of all kinds,
that whole place, and I mean it's a huge place, and we went to we visited Hematite Lake last Saturday. All of us did together, and one of the guys that want to remain anonymous told me a story of right there at Hematite Lake. 2 stories actually, one paranormal, one on the cryptid side. So I mean, it's just that whole place, It's
right. Well, like I say, it's basically one big cemetery.
Yeah.
So
literally.
Agreed.
No one should be surprised at paranormal activity in a place like that.
No, not at all. Absolutely not. Here's a comment. Robbie Rain says, talking about your print, he says just a little bigger than the print he saw in Florida.
Yeah.
So
Wow, see.
Okay.
So Bart, you've had a lot of people come to you and talk about like their Bigfoot encounters and their footprint sizes. So how big was something? Would you happen like how tall something like that would have to be to have, if Anna has an 8.5 size shoe, that was at least another 6 inches bigger than her foot? I mean, is that like a 9 or 10 footer or bigger, do you think?
I would say at least 8 or 9 foot tall. I mean, no one knows for sure, Krista. There are no experts on this subject. Right. No experts on Bigfoot or Dogman or any other humanoid. Mm-hmm. They're just people that experience these things and people who guess about them. And, I could give you my best estimate would be 8 to 9 feet, but, all these things I'm sure don't have the exact same size feet. So who knows? It was whatever made that print was huge for sure.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Real quick, Titan 70, thank you very much. We definitely
thank you, Titan.
So he said, wonderful visit tonight. Thanks for spending time with us. Blessings on y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question. This is just a comment. Crystal, she says, sounds like an eventful trip. And absolutely it was.
You're not kidding. I mean, Chris and I had talked about we could go to a location that's haunted, and we know it's haunted. And we could sit there for days and nothing happens. But we went to this place and it was happening from the moment you walk in.
Yeah. And honestly, that whole place, it just has a weird feel to it. And I don't care if you're on what side of the LBL you're on. I just think the whole place, the energy is just off there.
Yeah, right. But, I mean, it's not I don't want to say not in a bad way, but when you're tuned into it and you know what's in there, you can feel the difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but to somebody who has no idea what's going on or doesn't believe or anything, they're not going to feel anything like we do.
Yeah.
But if you're a believer, you'll feel it for sure.
Yep. All right. Boondock Mojo says, have any of you ever seen a Sasquatch footprint stepped on twice going both directions?
No.
No.
Nope.
Nope.
Me either.
I have never even seen it documented. So, but that doesn't mean anything. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. Sheldon and Dawn asked, do any of you get scared? I'll let everybody answer.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
I'd imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get a little freaked out, but I have him and nightmare, so
Right.
I'm okay.
I've never been scared in the LBL before, no.
Yeah.
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. No. I've really never been scared.
But I got a question. Right. Well, Terry had asked, I mean, have you seen any UFO activity out there at all? Like
I started.
unexplained lights in the sky, like up
I
in the sky.
started.
Oh, did you start? Okay. I was just going to say, because I mean, it kind of goes along with the whole weirdness.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a lot of questions in here.
And I tried to look, but where we were at, the tree canopy was very thick.
Yeah.
So I really couldn't see very much.
It's crazy too because every single time we go out, we say, "Look up, look up." We remind ourselves to look up, but we never look up. It's like,
and
I don't
you
know
know
if it's
what?
something that's keeping us from looking up, or we just don't think about it, but we don't look up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So, Terry, that's what we have you for. So you're going there with us, and you can be the sky watcher while the rest of us.
That's what we have you for.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. Because there's another trip that all of us here, including Terry, we all need to go on.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so ask that question. Gene Hudson asked, how big is this place? So how big is the LBL?
170,000 acres.
Wow.
Yep,
And
and you can get lost very easily.
Right.
The trace alone, the road that we had our encounters on, I believe is 50 miles from one end to the other,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. And it's a straight shot through, so
Yeah.
it's a long ways.
Yeah.
Good place.
Definitely is. How many miles do you think the trace is?
I think it's 50 miles. I'm pretty sure it's 50 miles from from the Dover end to what is it, Cedar?
Yeah.
What's the other end? Grand Rivers. From Grand Rivers, I believe it's about 50 miles.
Yeah. Yeah. Real
Nice.
quick, somebody asked what DA's channel is. So just let y'all know, I've been dropping links through in chat, but actually this is our channel, and it started like not posting the links as I was putting them out there. So I had to redo them a little bit. So just let everybody know I've been dropping links of DA, Barton's, Robbie's. I did Nana Boss, several of them that are out there in chat tonight. So anyway.
Thank you, Krista. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Next question. This is a good one. Hawk asked, have any of y'all thought about using a boat at day or night to watch the shoreline?
Yes,
We just need a boat.
we need a boat.
Hawk, we have a boat we can borrow.
We're not swimming along the shoreline there, but it's like 300,000 miles of shoreline there.
Yeah, so if anybody out there has a boat and a lot of gas,
I agree. Hit us up.
that's blondes and booze. That's blondesandbooze@gmail.com.
I would love to take a boat out there at night and go close to the shoreline and shine some lights up there and check out the shoreline at night. That's something that I've never been able to do.
Right.
I would love to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a great
So hit
one.
us up.
Hit us up, Captain, whoever you are.
Yep.
That's what I said. Blondesandbooze@gmail.com.
Next question. Boondock Mojo says, have any of you guys ever encountered a winged gremlin?
That may be what you saw.
Maybe we saw. No, we
Maybe
don't.
it's a midget Mothman after all. Maybe one, I don't know.
He's considered a gremlin.
It was a winged something. So
And I saw that come through, so I wrote it down. So I'll look into that and I'll see if we can find any pictures or drawings of it and see if we'll compare.
Yeah.
All right. And you guys weren't the only ones who's ever seen anything like that. Somebody there at camp with us saw something, I think a month before that.
but it was white.
But it was solid white.
Wasn't it a white one?
Yeah.
He encountered a white flying creature like that. Didn't he say it was some type? It looked like a griffin type.
Yeah, with
creature.
2 legs, and he said the wingspan was like 12 feet, so much bigger than what you guys saw.
Right.
But still a winged.
Still a winged
unknown,
creature.
right?
Maybe that was the mom.
Maybe. I hate to see the dad.
Right. It could very well have been. Who knows? Okay, so next question. We asked that one.
War criminals calling it mini moth.
Was there, Sheldon Dawn asked, was there any strange silence for any of this weekend that you guys can remember?
No, not that
No.
I remember.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the whole time we're there, I was hearing the crickets and the tree frogs, and we were right
I'm gonna tell you when
against
I
the
was
woods, and there was a little structure behind our cabin, little wood structure. War criminal can tell you about that, and the leaves that were on the ground were just kicked up everywhere. I mean, it looked like a lot of animal traffic had been through there, but no, I don't recall any dead silence. And I've heard that several times before. I would remember that.
Yeah,
well, I did when I was sitting there by myself. I mean, you know, when the wind finally died down, and it was so late that, you know, of course, everybody's sleeping at that point.
Yeah.
But when the wind died down, I could hear probably about a minute, no more than a minute. It was just dead silent.
Yeah. D.A. Roberts says we need to get a group to the LBO with a large pontoon boat to film the shore at dusk and dawn. You know what? Count me in, buddy.
Count me in.
Yep, we're
Great
there.
idea, DA.
Yep, we're right there with
Bring
you.
the boat, brother.
Yeah, and I'm sure Anna and Michelle would like to come too.
We have a boat.
You have a
They
boat?
have a boat. See, they
Yeah,
could
we have a boat.
they could be
We're not
flanking
going
us,
to
and we
the
can watch two directions at the same time and just keep floating along. See,
Right, right.
How have I known you all this time and not known you had a boat?
What kind of boat is it, Anna?
It's what is it, Kevin? 18.5-foot ski boat.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
oh, see, they can make a fast getaway. See, I'd have to have something like a pontoon where I could just kind of cruise away.
Then we can get out of there.
Yeah.
How many did you say can fit?
It fits about 7 people.
You know what? I might have a lead actually on a 12-person pontoon boat.
See, I
Yeah.
won't be able to get away fast, but I'll sure be able to float away. I'll just cruise.
We can always take 2 out and hit both the edges,
Yeah,
both sides.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I would love to do that, honestly. I think that'd
Yeah.
be fantastic. DA asked, are there wild hogs in the LBO?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Do you want to talk
Ever
about
since 2009, actually.
Yeah.
Before that, there weren't.
Do you want to talk about recently what happened? What they were saying that they were eradicating wild hogs out there?
Well, that's what they're saying they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. They told my scientist friend that they were using helicopters and shooting them from helicopters and leaving the bodies where they lay. But you know, if that was true, there would be turkey vultures everywhere out there. And I've seen turkey vultures out there, but I've never seen a dead hog out there. And you know, me and my scientist friend were down there a couple months ago, a month ago or so, and we were walking around a certain cemetery that Martin Groves asked us to look at, and we actually saw the first hog trap that was actually baited and triggered and ready for use. So the rest have all been unbaited with no trigger. So, but there is at least one there that's active in working condition. But
yeah, Robbie
So, yeah.
said real quick. He said it'd be a long drive, but he can get access to a pontoon. So maybe if we can get a couple of them over there. Honestly,
Yeah.
That
We
would-
could just start a whole team, and we'll all split up and go different directions and see what, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe
would
we'll
probably
have that
be-
orange moon again.
honestly,
With
that would
everything
probably
going
be highly
crazy.
successful. If you ask me, that would probably be successful.
Mhm.
And Jesse from Hellbent Holler wants to get a barge
Yeah,
and go out on a barge.
by a barge.
They're coming up with a barge fund for them to buy a barge and going out.
There you go.
If Jesse gets her barge, we'll all go.
There it is. We'll just hang out.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll be sipping our drinks just to watch it and have binoculars in one hand and just sipping with the other. We'll be great.
Right?
Right, exactly. You know, we went through all the questions, and honestly, I mean, I believe we pretty much covered everything, haven't we?
Yeah.
So
It was a fantastic, eventful, fun, weekend. You
Yes.
know, I
Always
just,
fun. Always fun when we meet down there. It's just great company. And even if
Yep.
you don't see anything, you know,
We
you still
eat
come
good.
away with, we eat like kings. You still come away with a great weekend, you know, full of memories about, you know, being around your good friends. And
Yep.
you just, you know,
Absolutely.
life's too short not to enjoy it. So even if
Yeah.
we don't see anything, you know, and of course me, I've never seen anything. Me and Elijah, we're out in the cold here,
are
but
you
we still
out?
enjoy going down there and meeting up with everybody. It's great,
Right.
great time.
Right. Yeah. It's just, we had a good weekend, and honestly, I miss every one of you guys.
Right?
You too.
We do too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we have good stuff coming up. We have good stuff coming up. We have the Dogman Conference in
Right.
Texas.
That's going to be a
Um,
blast if it's anything like the first one, which was fantastic.
Let me put the
Huge
banner
success.
up real quick. I can put that Dogman banner up. So great lineup of speakers, including one of our guests here. Bart is on the conference, and DA Roberts, who was in chat, he's also going to be a speaker. And it's not a conference to miss. I can tell you that.
no. So get your tickets and get them now. I don't know if there's any VIP left, but if there is, get them.
Yep, it is a 3-day conference, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be good. And, come meet Bart and DA and everybody else in person.
Right. Looking forward to seeing all of my good friends over at PRT, Paranormal Roundtable,
Yep.
Josh Turner, and all my good friends that have been in the chat tonight. I really appreciate you guys showing up.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Absolutely. And real quick, Lisa Lou, $5 starter boat fund. Thank you very much.
Our first gallon of gas.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, we appreciate everybody, and tune in next week. And I don't even remember who's next week at this point.
Also, Robbie's out there and he's saying, hey, the DA Ex Machina crew is going to be there.
Oh yeah, at the Dogman. So that'll be cool. Come and meet DA and Robbie and
I didn't know you were going, Robbie, but now I know, so I'm holding you to it.
yeah,
Can't change your mind now.
Also,
Right. Be there or you will regret it. And, you know, I've talked to so many people that said they heard about the first Dogman Conference in Paris, Tennessee, and they couldn't make it, and they're still kicking themselves for not making that. So we have a chance to do it again. So everyone come on out. I think it's in Fort Worth, Texas, or something like that, and Labor Day weekend.
Just outside of Fort Worth. Yeah.
Her back up real quick because it is outside, and I think the town is listed. Well, it says Fort Worth on here, so it's
White Settlement.
White Settlement. There you go. Brandy's
Yes.
got the memory.
Barely. It's Friday.
Right. So anyway, but we appreciate each and every one of you guys, and come back next Thursday. Do you remember who we have on?
No.
Oh, real quick. Jared Crazy Indian, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Thanks.
Yes.
You know, you asked me that after what we just talked about for the last 2 hours. I'm like, no.
No, I don't. I don't remember either. So anyway, we're going to call it a night, and everybody have a great weekend. Have a great Mother's Day, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
God bless.